Hey everyone, it's Sal here with another video. For this one here, we're going to be talking about the Sega Genesis slash Mega Drive that's finally coming out this September 19th, 2019. It's been exactly a year since the Genesis has been announced, and it was going to launch to commemorate the 30th anniversary of the Genesis slash Mega Drive. I should just call it Mega Drive because Genesis gets stuck in my mouth. I just wanted to just briefly talk about it in this video because I'm really looking forward to this mini console. Now, personally, the Genesis, I never owned a Genesis growing up. I had the Nintendo, Super Nintendo, and then after that, it was a brief pause in terms of video games. And then I came back and I ended up coming back to playing video games on Sony's PlayStation. And the Sony PlayStation Mini was just a flop. So the Genesis, I never got to play the games on there that were exclusive to that console, anything like that. So I'm looking forward to picking this one up. Number one, to play the games, and number two, to add it to my mini console collection, which, as you know, we've got the Nintendo Classic, the Super Nintendo Classic, Sony's PlayStation Classic, and now we have Sega's Mega Drive Classic. So we all know that Nintendo had great success with their mini consoles. The only thing that sucked was their supply. They were unable to meet supply. It was so much demand for these consoles. A great idea. They were designed great. The interface was great. They had a good selection of games. The bonus was that you were able to hack them and add your own game ROMs to them. And this was just fantastic. Moving on to Sony's entry into the mini classic console with their PlayStation was a complete flop. Number one, it was priced too high for what you got. There was really no... you could tell that Sony really didn't put any care into this console. I mean, they had the look of it, but in terms of actual... like the interface, the games, the emulation software itself was all lazy. They took an open source emulation, and this is an opinion that a lot of people out there share as well. They picked out an emulation software that was open source on the net. They just slapped it on to the console. You had the games. Now, the game selection was fine, but it was the type of game ROMs that they put on there that was just, why would they put PAL versions and the North American console? That was another disaster right there. And while some of you may think not including a little power adapter was no big deal, you know what? It is a big deal because that's pretty important. We may have them lying around. Some of us may do, but I would like that power block so I can power that console without having to swap out power blocks from other devices that I own. Anyways, it's the principle that is what I'm getting at here. They should have included it and not skimped out on it, especially for $130. For $130, it should be there. So I own the PlayStation. I was disappointed with it. I didn't get it at the beginning for $130. I actually ended up waiting for it. And then the price dropped to $60, and then I ended up getting it because, again, I wanted it part of my collection. Anyways, back to the discussion at hand, which is the Mega Drive. So, like I said before, it was announced a year ago. And they came out on stage. They had a little model of the little Mega Drive, the Genesis, and they said, it was coming out for the 30th anniversary, and it would be out at some point in 2018. They were in partnership with AT Games, so things were gonna just move on from there. Now, the thing with AT Games, from what I heard, now AT Games makes the flashback consoles, Atari, and they've done Sega flashback console as well. Now, there have been complaints about the Sega versions of their flashback consoles where, the sound emulation was off, screen tearing. Basically, they didn't do a good job at the Sega hardware of their business. So a lot of people were pretty upset about that. Now let's move forward till to September 2018, where Sony comes out and announces that there's going to be a delay in releasing this console. They said that it's going to come out at sometime in 2019. Not sure. Well, they wanted it out for the 30th anniversary, and at that point, it wasn't clear if they were still working with AT Games. Now, what happened was at that same point in time, AT Games had a post about releasing the Mega Drive Mini, which was going back when it was first announced in April. September, that post was gone. So it may be that AT Games and Sega parted ways. So it looked like that development on this mini console was going to come in-house, and from what I could tell, it looks like a little bit more caring and TLC is going to go into this console. And you know what? For what we've seen up until now, I'm glad they did, because it looks like they actually care about what they're going to release, unlike Sony. So that was September. And I'm going to also add that they're also in working with M2. M2 works on the Sega Ages and Sega 3D Classics collection, producing ports of the Sega games. And from the feedback I've heard, M2 does a really great job at porting the software, the games out like onto the PS4 for other collections for those consoles. Now we are present day. Last week was the big announcement that the PlayStation, that the Mega Drive Genesis was going to have a release date, which is September 19th, 2019. It's going to have 40 games loaded onto there. Right now, we only know some of the games. As time goes on, they're going to be releasing more titles. In terms of hardware specs, we don't know much about the CPU. Probably a low-powered ARM processor with flash, obviously an HDMI, so you can connect to modern TVs and displays. Now, I'm not sure if it's going to come with one controller or two controllers, or there's going to be two different sets where you can buy the one controller version for $60, and then for another $20 you can get the two controller version. Basically, I think they should just sell two controllers in the box, and that's it. Get it over with, because you're probably going to want to play a two-player game with someone else. All right. So in terms of what we know, in terms with the games that are going to be loaded on there, so far we have Echo the Dolphin, Castlevania Bloodlines, Space Harrier 2, Shining Force, Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine, Toe Jam and Earl, Comic Zone, Sonic the Hedgehog, Alter Beast, and Gunstar Heroes. Like I said, as time goes on, so Sega will be releasing more information on what other titles will be included on the mini console. In terms of what you're going to get bundled in your console, with your console, you're going to get obviously the Genesis Mega Drive mini console. It says on their website 2 wired control pads, a USB power adapter, something that Sony didn't throw in there, power cable, and an HDMI cable. So like I said, I'm really looking forward to this. And the thing that makes this Sega release mini console slightly better than Nintendo's is that you're going to be able to pre-order it. So Nintendo didn't have any pre-orders for their console. Basically, you got to line up. And now I never lined up for the Nintendo Classics, the Nintendo Entertainment System Classic. I actually had to wait online and wait until they appeared back in stock, and then had to buy them. And I was lucky. I bought one for myself and a couple others for friends. So I had luck with that. With the Super Nintendo Classic, I actually went out that morning and lined up, and I did get my hands on it on one console. In terms of Sony's and their PlayStation Classic, they did the good thing too, where you were able to pre-order, and it was eventually sent out to you when the release date arrived. So Sega is they're not like they're doing pretty good so far. You know, they're including 40 games onto the console. We don't know if we can hack it yet, but 40 games are going to be preloaded on there, and you can pre-order it, which is great news. And if you're interested in pre-ordering it from Amazon, I've got links in the description below that'll quickly take you there. And yeah, they're affiliate links. Anything, you know, when you use those links, they help me out. I'll collect a few cents from using those links. But other than that, stay tuned. Stay tuned for more information regarding this mini console. I'm looking forward to it. For the games and just being a mini console, gonna add it to my collection. So I'm pretty excited for this release. Anyways, folks, hopefully you enjoyed this quick little update. If you enjoyed it, give it a thumbs up. If you like more of my videos that are on here, consider subscribing and stay tuned for more episodes as I create them. Thanks for joining me, and ciao for now.